guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are making a Halloween themed mixed media bouquet card, and we're going to be using the lovely bouquet stamp set from Pajama Crafter Stamps. I have a piece of mixed media cardstock that I'm going to use, and I'm going to stamp this in the background first. And I actually want to stamp this. I'm going to use archival ink to do this part. All right, we are using archival ink. I believe this is watering can from Ranger. I'm going to stamp it on my paper at the bottom, and I'm going to end up flipping my paper around, but I do have to adjust the stamp just a little bit because I didn't line it up exactly right. Had I done this in the corner of the Misty, it wouldn't have had to move anything. I could have just stamped it down and been done with it. But I want to use the archival ink because of the watercoloring technique we're going to be using shortly. So we're just going to go ahead and stamp this down a second time. I'm inking that stamp back up, and I'm going to end up stamping this again and have perfect placement for my project. So we're just going to press that with our pressure tool and have our background just like that. So I'm going to stamp this in an alcohol marker friendly ink. Go. And I'm going to set this to side, let this dry for a little bit, and we are going to work on the rest of our card. All right, here's my sticky mat. Put on my stamp, and then I'm going to take and put on a stencil that has a lot of open area. I'm going to press that down, and I'm going to take, I have some distressed watercolor pencils. You can use any kind of watercolor pencils. And I'm going to come in and add a little bit of color there on the cardstock. You want to kind of move the colors around. Don't have them all lined up together. Go around your stencil. An open area stencil will work better for this technique, so just be aware of that. That's why I chose this one. So I'm just going to trace around areas. I do add just a little bit more color here and there. Just trying to alternate my colors. Down. We're just going to alternate, keep going. I just picked fall colors. For this, we are going to have that little spooky scene or spooky coloring in a minute. It's just a different way to do. It's just a fun way to add some extra stuff into your fun into your Halloween projects. You can use anything. Oh, and again, I'm using Barn Door, Rusty Hinge, Spiced Marmalade, and Wild Honey. I just picked 4 colors from the 3 different sets I had.
of the distressed crayons. I can move that stencil. Now I'm going to get a water brush. I just got a paintbrush and a cup of water. And I have my rag over here. What we're going to do is we're going to come in and wet that pigment and kind of pull it out. So I'm just going to pull that out. Kind of just letting the center get lighter. So we're just going to pull this out.
All right, we are going to continue on with the watercoloring process, and I am wetting that pigment with a thirsty brush and pulling it in from the outside into the middle to help create that distressed faded look that we are going for our vintage project today. And I'm going to continue on with doing each of the leaves one at a time, making sure that everything is nice and cohesive, and working on our mixed media background. And all mixed media means is that you're using multiple medias on one project. That's all that really is. All right, so we're going to continue on with our watercoloring, just pulling that out into the center to help create that vintage feel that we're going for. And we are going to continue on. I try to work on one color at a time and work my way through each of those colors. That makes it super easy and a lot easier to deal with than cleaning the paintbrush every time.
All right, we're just finishing up the watercoloring process. We've got this one last sort of image to fill in. So I'm just going to finish pulling that color out. So I'm just pulling from the edge of where I have that color into the center. And if I missed a spot, I just kind of fill it in. All right. Now I'm going to take some clean water, just kind of spritz it on there, tap it on there. Then I'll pick that up. And then I'm going to dry that with my heat tool. All right, I'm going to prep this with my anti-static powder tool because we're going to do a little heat embossing. So we're going to prep that with our cottontail blending or powder tool. I'm going to take and put this in the Misty. Now we're going to take our smaller stamps in this set. I'm going to start at the bottom. And then I'm going to stamp this in a embossing ink. We're going to actually do it a couple different places. It's going to help add a little texture and interest to our card. Now I'm going to take and put some embossing powder on. I'm going to use gold. Got a scratch piece of paper.
All right, we're going to pop on our embossing powder. And again, I'm using the gold super fine embossing powder from Wow. And I'm doing this to add a little bit more glamour and texture to my project today. This also adds just a little bit of shine into the background that we are going to use to our advantage. So I'm just going to pop that on, and
I'm actually going to flick on a little water. And add the powder on there again. So I want some gold splotches. All right, now I'm going to heat set this and I'll be right back.
all right, I'm heat setting the embossing powder from the back, and this is because due to the fact I have splotched on that water and covered it with the embossing powder, if I were to heat set this from the front, then it's going to blow that powder everywhere. And so from heating it from the back, it helps me to secure that powder in place. And it does take a little bit longer to evaporate that water to make the embossing powder melt. So it's much safer to heat emboss from the back when you're using this technique than it is from the front. So I'm just going to continue on heating the embossing powder from the back. I am going to, once I get all of that melted with the water, I'm going to end up flipping it over to the front, the heat tool, and heat embossing from the front as well to make sure everything's nice and smooth and melted. This is super easier than it looks, and it does add that special little touch that is going to make your card.
All right, there's my background done for right now. I'm going to set this to the side and we're going to work on our coloring of our flower. And since we're doing this spooky flower, we're going to have some black flowers here too. I'm going to start off with my C9 or CG9. Go ahead and add in the CG7, blend that 9 out. Add in the darks here. Just going back over the 9 with the 7 to blend everything together. I'm going to come in with my CG5. It's going to come over everything. We're going to switch to CG3. It's my lightest color, so it's going to be my highlight on the edges of this black rose. All right, we're going to do our other flowers. All right, for my other roses, we're going to do those in a red-orange combination. So I'm going to do 2.5 first. Remember, anywhere anything overlaps, you're going to have a shadow. we're just going ahead and putting all that in now. Now I'm going to switch to 02.4. I'm going to blend that out. My next darkest color. Actually, that was supposed to be my lightest color. I was supposed to have a darker color. So we're just going to go ahead and finish filling that in, and I'll add that darkest shade in. All right. For my darkest color was supposed to be 027. So we're just going to go in and add that in, and then I'll blend that out with the 2.5 or the 2.5, the O 2.5. We're using the O 2.7 now. And I'll blend that out with our 2.5. It's a great thing about alcohol markers. You can come back and fix stuff. All right, for my other little flowers, I'm going to use Y023 as my darkest color. And then I'm going to blend that out with Y022. All right, let's go back to our orange combination. We're going to add color in our little buds over here. So I'm starting with the 2.7. I'm going to come in with the 2.5, the 2.5. And the 2.4. All right, for my berries, I am going to use OR 1.6 as the darkest. So I'm just going to kind of pop in little shadows in here. And these I'm just going to kind of just pop in a little color. All right, now I'm going to blend those out with R0.5. Swap us on a little color. And then our last is 0.4. R0.4. And for these little flowers right here, I'm going to go back to my Y023 and Y022. And then I'm going to add in, we're going to color our leaves. I'm going to color those with BG 2.7. So I'm going to go right down the center. I'm going to use BG 2.5. Blend that out. All right, now I'm going to blend that out with 2.4. If you're ever going and you skip around like I just did and the alcohol has already dried, just re-wet everything with the next marker and you'll be able to blend everything in better. All right, we're going to finish those with 2.3, BG 2.3 as the lightest color. And then I'm going to come back to my CGs and I'm going to color in the rest of my little leaves here in that cool gray color. So we have a little bit of difference and keep up with our little spooky scene going on, our little spooky bouquet. And I'll blend that out with the CG3. All right, I'm going to cut everything out with my paper snips. So there is no matching die for this, so I'm gonna be right back. All right, there's everything cut out. Now I'm gonna come in with my distressed ink and a foam blending tool, and I'm going to go around the edge just to kind of distress that a little bit. We're just going to go around the edges of our fussy cutting. And I'm also going to go around the edge of my panel here.
All right, by going around the edge of the card front with my black soot distressed ink, it allows me to add that distressed look to the card front, and it's super easy to just do that. You can pick any color. I chose black soot because I wanted to tie in the black a little bit more to the color palette that we are working with currently, and to tie in our black roses. All right, I'm going to take my Barely Art glue and run along the back of my card front and making sure I have a nice amount of glue on the back so that I have good adhesive. Since this is a heavier cardstock, I want to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. I'm going to line this up onto my card front and press it into place once I get everything nice and lined up. And we are going to move on to our next step and just making sure everything's nice and lined up there.
All right, we're going to add our floral. I'm going to pop that up on some foam tape. I'm using 2mm foam tape. Some small pieces on here. So I want everything to be nice and even. So I'll just finish putting that on, and then I'll peel these backings off and we'll place this on our card. Then we're going to add our sentiment. All right, we're going to go ahead and arrange this. Kind of want that to go about right. I think we're going to turn it. Let's go this way. Go. Now I did cut some alphabet letters, the sentiment. I just used some alphabet dies from my stash. Cut it 3 times from the black mixed media cardstock. And I'm going to stack these up together. We're going to have the word boo. So I'll just stack these up. All right, I'm going to take some twine, and I'm going to take a black Copic marker. I use the chisel end. I'm going to dye my twine. I'm just kind of holding the chisel end under and pulling that under there, coloring it the way I want it. All right, I'm going to tie my twine into a double bow. Let's see, let's readjust that. Cut that off. Cut that off. I actually want some longer strings, so make sure we have room.
All right, we're going to start attaching our sentiment down using our Barely Art glue. I'm going to figure out my placement, and I am going to kind of stagger these a little bit. I decided I needed a little bit more room, so I'm shifting this over to the left-hand side of the card. I'm going to start with my center O, and I'm going to add a liquid adhesive behind that and pop that into place, move that excess glue. Even though it dries clear, it's fine. I'm going to take and push it off, hold it into place. I do have my tweezers holding my bow in place right now so I can make sure I know where I want that to be. I am going to end up shifting that B down just a little bit to offset it just a tad. I'm going to place my other O under here. I think this is just the cutest little Halloween sentiment. It's super simple, easy. You could add a sub sentiment if you wanted to, but we're going to keep it just super simple and just kind of move that B down and make it kind of like a curved, staggered. Now I'm going to attach my bow into place by using just a little bit of Barely Art glue. I'm just going to dot a little glue right where I want it and press it into that glue and hold it into place. So I'm just going to hold that there and while that glue adheres and make sure everything's nice and secure. And now we're going to cut off our little excess strings because they don't need to be that long. I wanted them long, but not that long. So we're going to go ahead and cut those down. Then I'm going to double check everything, make sure everything's secure, and we're going to add our finishing touches to this in just a second. For that, I'm going to use some lump of coal rhinestones from Pajama Crafter Stamp. I've already got them pulled out into my little tray, and I'm going to pop those on. And I started out with 3 at the top, so I'm going to go ahead and pop those on, and I'm going to use one of each of the 3 sizes up there. At least I think I used 3 of them of different sizes. Yeah, I do. So I picked a medium, a small, and a large one, and I'm just kind of picking those up with my Pajama Crafter Stamp wand and putting that into the adhesive. The trickiest part is picking them up. All right, I'm going to add a few more rhinestones just sprinkled around the card to add a little bit touch of sparkle. I'm going to put one right there, and then one next on the O of the boo, and one next to it. I'm trying to figure out the perfect placement, and I decided that right on top was the best, and that's going to give me 6. So I have to have one more because I got to have an odd number. I can't have just an even number. So we're going to go ahead and pop all those into place, and I'm just going to use different sizes again, adding that touch of sparkle to our vintage mixed media Halloween card. We're just going to continue on adding those in, just booping those right into place. And I did lose my little glue that I had already put down, but I did end up finding it real quick. So I'm just kind of looking. I was about to add more glue, and then I swear I found it right where I was about to add it. So there's that. You know, sometimes we forget when we get ahead of ourselves. So we're going to go ahead and add that last little rhinestone on and be done.
All right, there's a finished look at the card, and it's a closer look. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one right over there.